Hello, I'm Jane Hilsden, and today I'm going to be talking about communication, but not marketing communication. I'm talking about communication between your business and your customer, because all too often we see businesses who invest beautifully in their marketing, and their marketing works, and we drive customers and clients to the business, and then sometimes there can be a level of dissatisfaction that has been expressed by the customers in terms of communication levels. I had a colleague chatting with me the other day, and he expressed frustration about this one kind of big I would say stakeholder. It's probably not a client, it was more of a stakeholder. And this stakeholder, he was frustrated because this stakeholder had actually gone above him and complained about him to his boss. And he was, grumbling about it, saying, "Oh, I can't believe this stakeholder has gone and complained to my boss, yada, yada, yada." And I said, "Oh, what did they complain about?" And he said they complained because apparently we haven't got back to them on this particular project that we're working on. And I said, "Well, have you got back to them?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, that's really frustrating. It can be really frustrating when you're working on a particular project, or you have a deadline, or there is an answer that you're really waiting for as a customer, as a client, or as a stakeholder, and people just won't get back to you, because as the person who's waiting for your response, you're filled with confusion and you're filled with the unknown. Like, has this person received my email? Have they been getting my calls? Are they just ignoring me? Is this project not on anymore? Are they not interested in my business? What's happened? In your head or in your world, you might not be communicating back because you're flat out, and this project is one of a billion that you're working on, or this client is one of a billion that you're trying to process, or this customer, is being unreasonable with their communication demands, whatever the case is. The best case scenario, though, is to manage people's expectations around communications. It's so easy to do, and it just eliminates all of this unknown and this unrest while people sit there waiting for your response. You might be busy, but if someone's waiting for your response, it can cause so much angst and frustration. And when you've invested in your marketing, and when you've spent money in building a brand that you want your consumers to trust, why would you waste that by letting people down with simple miscommunications or lack of communications? So there's four things that I wanted to recommend as potential communication expectation management hygiene today. And these are things that we implement within our business, and I've seen them also implemented within other businesses. Firstly, just acknowledge that these days we can be communicated by, people can reach us in so many different forms. They can text message us, they can email us, they can write to us on LinkedIn, they can write to us via Facebook Messenger, they can, if we've got Slack channels, if we've got WhatsApp channels, it's quite full on in terms of how many channels people can be reaching us on. So firstly, take an audit of all of those communication channels that are open to your stakeholders and your customers and your clients. I know in a regional town, I have kind of formal communication channels for my clients, but then I actually have a lot of friends that end up being clients or referring clients. So, they might be writing to me via Facebook Messenger or dropping me a note on LinkedIn. So I've just got to acknowledge that those places, because I'm active in those channels, I've just got to acknowledge that those are places where I really need to monitor and make sure that I'm actually checking to see if I'm getting email messages or communications via those channels. So do an audit. How can people contact you? Have you got, a Facebook page where people can drop you a direct message? Is your mobile phone on communication, on your marketing? You know, and should you be checking that and being vigilant in terms of returning people's calls? Your email addresses, you know, are all the email addresses that you have listed as contact points for your business, is there someone regularly checking those and getting back to people, more importantly, within your business? You know, if you have WhatsApp groups, if you have Slack channels, you know, are there groups or clients that you've kind of tapped into your projects on those programs, your project management systems, Trello, etc. You know, make sure that you've got an audit of all the places that people can communicate with you, and build a system around how you're just going to make sure that someone within your organisation is monitoring those and getting back to people. So I'm just going to cover off the kind of basic ones. So one, do an audit to find out where people are contacting you. Number two, put some sort of a policy or standard in place that you actually communicate with the rest of your team around what the communication standards are within your business. So sometimes you can have some absolute superstars within your business who are really efficient at getting back to customers and clients, stakeholders, whoever. Make sure that everybody's on the same page, because some people don't necessarily have that return communication priority. So if you kind of just set some really basic standards around, you know, we reply to emails within 24 hours, or we reply to our main communication channels within 24 hours, even if it's just simply with an acknowledgement that we've received an email. Because let's face it, sometimes we don't have an answer ready to go with an email, you know, that comes in, or a question that comes in. But just a simple acknowledgement, hey, got your email, thanks for reaching out, don't have the answer, or don't have the capacity to actually get back to you now, but, you know, we'll work on doing that within a week or whatever. That just manages expectations. And it just eliminates all the angst of the person on the other end of that email or that text, whatever it may be, who's going to sit there if they don't hear back from you for another week, who's going to sit there going, ugh, why has this person not got back to me? You know, do I call them? Do I pester them again? You know, what's happening on their end? So set a standard. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a thesis in these are all the things we expect. Just a basic, we get back to people within 24 hours, even if it's just an acknowledgement of, yep, we've got your email and we'll get back. So that's number two. Number three, I manage so many Facebook pages, and over the last 12 or 24 months, I've really noticed a real prolificness, if that's a word, in people contacting businesses and brands through the Facebook inbox, the direct message through the page. Again, if people are used to using this as a communication channel, whether you're active on your Facebook messages or not, your Facebook inbox or not, they will expect you to be. So the best thing is if Facebook inbox is not going to be a good communication channel for you, or if you don't want people contacting you there, set up an automated message for your Facebook direct message that simply says, you know, hi, thanks so much for getting in touch. We check this, we check this page as often as we can, but it's not every day. If you would like a more immediate response, please contact us on this email or this phone number or this channel, whatever that may be. Again, it just lets the person know on the other side that, oh, okay, actually, I'm probably not going to hear from them for a couple of days. So if it is urgent, I'm actually just going to pick up the phone or send them an email. So that's number three, manage expectations by setting up that Facebook inbox. The automated reply in Facebook direct message. The other thing that you can obviously do there is there's quite extensive programs that can set up quite extensive automated communication. So message bots, they're called, and you can use software which essentially anticipates, what people are asking and what answers to give them, and you can kind of pre-program all of that in using these messenger bots. That's another option that you might consider for your Facebook page or even your website. So that's number three. Number four, So simple. Set up your out of office. I don't know why so many people don't put their out of office on, because again, it just allows you so much freedom in terms of, if I get an out of office, even if someone's just out of office for that morning, such and such is out of the office, won't be back in until later on this afternoon. We'll give you, we'll try and get in touch with you as soon as we can. Again, that shoots back to me and I go, oh, okay, they're not actually in the office, so I'm not going to expect a response this morning or this afternoon, particularly if it's something that's really urgent. So if I see that person's out of the office, the amount of people that go away on holidays and you'll send them an email and they won't get back to you and they won't get back to you, and you ring 3 days later and then, no one answers the phone, so you go through to reception and then reception says, or someone else in the office says, oh yeah, no, they're on holidays, they won't be back for another 2 weeks. And you've been sitting there waiting for an answer. So I guess the point of this is just put yourself in the shoes of the person who's getting in contact with you, particularly if this person is new to your business. If you've spent the money on marketing and branding and driving people to your organisation and provided these promises, if you really want to build trust and relationship with people, think about how you're actually going to continue that communication and continue that conversation when you actually get them through your front door.